So, you might have noticed NATO's been making some pretty big moves lately. We're talking about a fundamental change in its military posture, how it spends its money and where it puts its troops. But here's the thing, none of this is random. And in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and find the one single powerful idea that's driving this massive shift.
Yeah, when you really look at what NATO's been up to, it all boils down to two major actions. And we're not talking about policy papers or stuffy meetings. No, this is real, tangible stuff you can actually see happening on the ground. And the really interesting part, it's how these two things connect. And believe it or not, both of these actions, they point back to one single core reason. If we can figure that out, we've basically cracked the code on NATO's entire modern strategy. So let's start with the basics. What are they actually doing?
Okay, so, Section 1, a change in posture. Before we can even touch the why, we've got to get super clear on the what. What exactly are these concrete actions that are signaling such a massive shift?
First up, you've got to follow the money. We're seeing a significant increase in spending. A lot of member nations are finally hitting or even going past that 2% of GDP defense spending target. And look, this isn't just about having bigger budgets for the sake of it. It's a really coordinated push to pour money into next-gen tech. We're talking everything from advanced drones to seriously beefed-up cyber defense.
And second, it's about the people, the troops. NATO is seriously ramping up its presence, especially out on its eastern flank. We're seeing those multinational battle groups getting stronger, and response forces are being put on a much higher alert. This is a very deliberate move, putting more personnel in key strategic spots.
So see what's happening? It's not just about buying fancy new equipment, and it's not just about moving troops around. It's about doing both together at the same time. This 1-2 punch of money and muscle is sending a really clear signal. But a signal of what? And that, right there, is the big question.
Which brings us perfectly to our next section, the central question. We've locked down the what, more cash, more troops. So now, let's tackle the why. What's the real reason behind all this?
And let's be really direct about it. Why is this all happening now? I mean, big geopolitical shifts usually move at a glacial pace, right? But this feels different. It feels accelerated. So what's the specific thing that's lit a fire under everyone to make such a big pivot at this exact moment?
Okay, Section 3, the principle of adaptation. It turns out the answer to our why question has been hiding in plain sight this whole time, right inside NATO's own rulebook. It's a really simple idea, but trust me, it unlocks absolutely everything.
Everything we've been talking about, all the spending, all the troop movements, it all boils down to just 5 simple words.
And here they are. We must adapt to new threats. That one sentence, right out of the NATO strategic concept, is the bedrock for everything they're doing right now. Now, it sounds simple enough, right? But those two parts, adapt and new threats, are packed with meaning. So let's break them down.
Okay, let's zoom in on that first word, adapt. This is so important. It doesn't mean just reacting when something bad happens. It's about being proactive, constantly evolving. It's a mindset of always trying to stay one step ahead, to see the next challenge coming before it even hits you.
So what are they adapting to? Well, these new threats. And this part is absolutely critical. We are way beyond just talking about tanks and fighter jets here. We're talking about massive cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns designed to tear societies apart, threats to satellites in space, even the security fallout from climate change. The whole idea of a battlefield has gotten way, way bigger, and NATO gets that.
All right, on to Section 4, connecting actions to strategy. So we've got the big idea, adapt to new threats. And we've got the actions on the ground, money and troops. Now, let's finally connect the dots and see exactly how that big idea actually turns into reality.
The process is actually super clear when you lay it out. Step 1, identify the new threats out there in the world. Step 2, you commit to adaptation as your main strategy. And step 3, you actually do it through modernization. And guess what modernization looks like? Yep, increased spending and troop deployments. It's a straight line from thinking to doing.
Here's another way to think about it. Imagine that adaptation principle is the solid concrete foundation of a building. Well, every single dollar being spent and every single soldier being moved, those are the pillars and beams being built right on top of that foundation. They're not just random decisions. They're the direct, logical result of that core promise to keep evolving.
Okay, Section 5, the constant of change. So let's zoom out.
What's the big takeaway from all this? What does this endless cycle of spotting new threats and then adapting to them really mean for the future?
So let's wrap up the logic here. What NATO is doing isn't random at all. It's all driven by that core principle of adaptation. And why are they adapting? Because the world is changing, and fast. The modernization we're seeing, the cash, the troops, that's just what adaptation looks like in the real world.
And all of this leaves us with one final, much bigger question that goes way beyond just NATO. If the one thing we can count on is constant, unpredictable change, then what does it even mean to be ready anymore? In a world that just will not stand still, what does being truly prepared actually look like?